Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. We are full on in the holiday season and I am whipping up my favorite side dish. And you can't go wrong because it starts with bread. We are gonna make dressing or stuffing depending on how you use it. This is gonna tell you how old I am. I remember when stovetop stuffing came out and it was the whole thing, it's not potatoes, it's stovetop. But I wanted to make it a little bit more personalized. I wanted to make it homemade for my family. So I found and kind of tweaked a recipe that will make a very, very good copycat stovetop stuffing. And it's all fresh ingredients. You can make it organic. It comes together really quickly. So let's get started. So we're just gonna take your serrated knife and you're gonna cut these into about 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cubes. Look at that. Look at that perfect little cube. It's got the nice little edges. Now I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And it's gonna be about 12 minutes and they're gonna be nice and toasty. Move that guy over and I've got my cookie sheet here. I'm just gonna put these all on the cookie sheet in a single layer. You don't have to put any oil on them. You don't have to put any seasoning. They're gonna get all of that. Basically, you just want them to dry out and to get just a little crispy, which will happen once all the moisture's out of them. I'm gonna pop these in the oven and they're gonna stay in there for about 10 minutes. You wanna check them. You don't want them to burn because that toastedness will change the flavor of your stuffing a little bit. So right about 10 minutes. All right, now we're gonna get chopping. So we're gonna chop about 1 cup of both onions and celery. Doesn't have to be exact, but you wanna make it a nice small chop. So I've got my pot here. I'm gonna bring it over closer to me and I'm gonna add some olive oil to that. Just pour that right in there. And it's a nice, beautiful olive oil that I actually got from Spain. And like I've said before, sometimes when you're cooking these holiday foods, you really wanna kind of up the ante and get the really finest ingredients because it does make a difference. Now I'm gonna turn my stove onto high and let that olive oil heat. And I love when I cook with gas, you just see that flame, you hear that, you know something really good is coming. Now while the oil heats up, I've got 2 cups of chicken stock in this pot over here. And I'm also gonna turn that on because I want that to be nice and warm when I'm ready to add it to the breadcrumbs. I'm gonna put that on medium because it's got a little bit of time to cook. You can use chicken stock, you can use turkey stock if you haven't, if you're making a lovely turkey dinner. If you wanna make this during the week or if you're having like the prime rib, you can use beef stock. You can really change that flavor up a lot. Ooh, my oil's talking to me, so I think it's asking me for the onions and the celery. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit because I don't want it to splatter. All right, so let's start with the celery. Now for the onions. All right, now this will take about 2 to 3 minutes until the onions get translucent and the celery starts to soften up. All right, those are perfect. They're translucent. They're even starting to caramelize a little bit. I don't want them to get too caramelized because I don't want to change the flavor at all, but they are good to go. I've took my breadcrumbs out of the oven, put them in a bowl. Those are cooling. I've got my broth that is hot enough, so I'm gonna turn that off. And we're just about done. So I'm gonna add some really great fragrant herbs to these. The first thing I'm gonna add is 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. Just gonna dump that right in. That smells so good. I've got 1/4 teaspoon of sage. Pour that in there as well. And then I've got some poultry seasoning. I'm gonna add about 1.5 teaspoons of that in there just to make sure I've got every possible herb in there that I can. All right. Those are perfect. Oh God, it smells so good in here. Now I've got my chicken stock here. It's 2 cups. And again, you can use turkey, you can use whatever kind of stock you want. I happen to have chicken, it was handy. I'm gonna add some butter to that because that's gonna help once I put it into my breadcrumbs, keep it nice and moist and rich. I've got 6 tablespoons of butter. You don't have to use all 6 if you want. You can use 3 or 4 if you're trying to be a little healthier. It's the holiday season, so I like to get a little decadent. Drop those right in there. I'm gonna turn that up. I really want those to melt down. And I'm gonna turn the heat down for my onions and celery with all those delicious herbs. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. And look at that, it's gas. I don't have to move the pot. I love that. While those melt, I've got my breadcrumbs all ready and I took them out, I put them into a bowl, they've cooled. So now I'm gonna take them and transfer them into this pot and really kind of stir them around with the seasonings and the celery and the onions. You can hear how crisp or how dried out they are. go. And this will be a little easier to stir once we get our broth in there. I'm just waiting for that butter to melt, and it's just about done. Turn that off. All right, now we are ready to go. You might find that you don't use all the broth, or if you'd like it a little wetter, you might add a little bit more. It all depends on you and what your taste is. Some people like the stuffing really, really soft. Some people like it a little bit more solid. Whatever makes your heart happy. There you go, I'm gonna drizzle some of that around the top. I'm gonna start with about half. Ooh, and look at all those onions coming up from the bottom. And what I like about this is it does have that flavor that I grew up with, but it's made from scratch. So I know exactly what's in here. There's nothing that's processed in there. And you're gonna have this delicious, a touch healthier stuffing than you would if you just got the box. And I'm gonna go ahead and just use the rest of that. So I have the full 2 cups in mind. Like I said, you might use all 2 cups, you might not. All right, we're just about done. I'm gonna put the lid on this. I'm gonna let it sit for like 5 minutes to make sure everything really incorporates. While that's doing its thing, I'm gonna clear off this and grab a platter so we can plate it up. All right, that's it. Oh my gosh, it looks so good and it smells like the best part of my childhood. I can't wait to get my eating clothes on.